Hello, and welcome to Math 8, Unit 2B, Lesson 1. Today's objective is scholars will identify proportional relationships and find the constant of proportionality. So, first question is, what is a proportion? So it is a linear relationship that has a y-intercept of 0. If we're looking at a graph, you'll notice right here, my y-intercept goes right through that 0. If I'm looking at an equation, then you'll notice there's nothing being added or subtracted. I'm just multiplying. If I'm looking at a table, you'll see the point when x is 0, y is 0. Okay, so what is the constant of proportionality? So the constant of proportionality is the number I need to multiply by to get the input by to get the output. So if I had y equals 3x, 3 would be my constant of proportionality. It is also our rate of change or our slope. You get the constant of proportionality, we'll call it COP, by dividing y by x. The unit rate is also derived from the constant of proportionality. So here y equals 4x, f of x is just another way to say y. The constant of proportionality would be 4. So we're going to go through these. Are they a proportion? We're looking at equations. So let's look at the first one. Y equals 3x plus 5. This one is not a proportion because we added to it. Remember, they have to have nothing added. Not a proportion because of the plus 5. This is a proportion. 1.8 is our COP. What about this one? Y equals x divided by 4. Well, that could be rewritten as y equals 1/4 of x. So this one is a proportion, and the constant of proportionality is 1/4. Next one, y equals x plus 7.5. It is, again, not a proportion because we're adding. Remember, we cannot add or subtract for proportions. We can only be multiplying. Okay, so is it a proportion from a table? So we have to check, we have to check our y-intercept. And remember that the y-intercept is simply the value of y when x is 0. And we simply need that to be 0. So let's look at this first table here. X is 0, y is 1. So that one is not a proportion because it's 0, 1. Well, this next one, I have 0, 5. So this one is not a proportion. But look at this next one. Here I see that 0, 0. So this one is a proportion. Wow, my writing's not very good tonight. Sorry. And here we go again. We see 0, 0. So this one is a proportion. We could figure out for each of these what the constant of proportionality is. So what do I multiply x by to get y? Well, sorry. This one is not a proportion because this one's not linear. If you look, we're actually squaring them. So this one's actually not a proportion because it's not linear. Yeah, you do have to check to make sure it's linear. So this one, so let's go back to, put a big red X there. Let's come back to this one. This one, what do I multiply x by to get y? It looks almost like I'm dividing. But remember, it looks like I'm dividing by 5, but that's the same thing as multiplying times 1/5. So that's our constant of proportionality. Okay, so finally, let's look at the graphs. So first thing we need to check, remember, proportions are linear relationships. So this one is not because it's not linear. So it cannot be a proportion. Let's look at our next one. This one is linear, but look where our y-intercept is. So y-intercept is not 0. So it's not a proportion. Next one, we have this one, it is linear, and it looks like my y-intercept is 0. So this one is a proportion, and we can find out what the constant of proportionality is by simply checking our slope. So, let me erase this real quick so you can see a little better. We're going to take our points. We have the point 0, 0, and I see this point 3, 1. So, my slope, I would go up 1 over 3. So, remember, it's rise over, so it's 1/3 is my constant of proportionality. Okay, so now you know how to find the constant of proportionality on these and tell if they're proportions. If you have any questions, see me in class.